Mastering Your Inner Critic, Part 1. The Voice Within. Sophie Chen, a 27-year-old graphic designer living in the vibrant city of Vancouver, possessed an extraordinary gift for crafting visually stunning designs that captivated her audience. However, beneath her creative prowess lay a destructive pattern of self-doubt that plagued her thoughtful, persistent habit of preemptively criticizing herself before anyone else had a chance to notice. No matter how refined and expert her work appeared, she found herself entangled in a web of relentless second-guessing. "It's not good enough," the insidious voice in her head sneered. "You're not good enough." Sophie's mind became a theater of anxious replay, where past interactions haunted her daily life. She meticulously reviewed conversations long after they ended, fixating on every word. Typographical errors in emails became her personal monsters, fueling her anxiety as she pondered over what others might think. When her friends complimented her creativity or praised her work ethic, she would respond with a nervous laugh that masked her discomfort. Although they admired her talent, Sophie couldn't grasp what they saw in her. All she could focus on were her perceived inadequacies. Her inner critic, while not boisterous, was dangerously subtle and smooth-talking. It expertly wove narratives that justified her hesitation, always presenting a convincing argument about why she should refrain from pursuing new opportunities or feel pride in her accomplishments. This critical voice seeped into every aspect of her life. It loomed over her during job interviews, hovering like a dark cloud as she stood before potential employers. It tightened around her throat during presentations, stifling her confidence just when she needed it most. And perhaps most painfully, it lingered every morning as she gazed into the mirror, distorting her self-image and making it nearly impossible to see the talented artist staring back at her. Part 2. The breaking point. One day, Sophie presented her design portfolio to a prestigious firm renowned for its innovative projects. This was a dream come true for her, a moment she had envisioned countless times throughout her journey as a designer. However, as she meticulously prepared her materials and practiced her presentation, a familiar, nagging voice began to echo in her mind. "You'll mess up," it whispered, casting shadows over her excitement. "They'll see you're a fraud," it warned, filling her with self-doubt. "Don't get your hopes up," it cautioned, attempting to ground her in fear. The night before the crucial meeting, anxiety consumed her. She sat at her desk, staring blankly at her laptop, feeling like a heavy weight had settled in her chest. Her thoughts raced chaotically, each one chipping away at her fragile confidence. The urge to cancel the meeting surged within her, threatening to overwhelm her resolve. To regain some clarity, she reached for an old notebook she kept on her shelf. She flipped through the pages filled with sketches and ideas. Her fingers brushed against a colorful sticky note. Curious, she paused and picked it up. It was a message from her younger self, written years ago when she was a college student just beginning to explore the world of digital art. "One day, you'll do things you used to be too scared to try. Don't let the voice in your head stop you." Reading those words had an immediate and profound effect on her. It was as if a light had turned on in the darkness of her worry. She could almost hear her younger self's enthusiasm, full of hope and belief in a brighter future, despite the fears that haunted her. That earlier version of Sophie had dared to dream and embrace challenges, even if just for a fleeting moment. She questioned where that unwavering belief had disappeared over the years. How had she allowed self-doubt to take such a firm hold on her aspirations? With renewed determination, she decided she wouldn't let fear dictate her choices. Instead, she would embrace the moment and all it represented, the chance to showcase her passion and creativity. Part 3: Challenging the Voice. The next morning, Sophie entered the meeting room with a familiar sense of nervousness coursing through her. Her palms were slightly sweaty, and doubts danced in her mind. But this time, she had equipped herself with a powerful new tool: curiosity. Instead of attempting to drown out her inner critic with self-doubt and anxiety, she decided to engage with it in a way she never had before. She took a deep breath and started asking herself questions to unravel the negativity. "Why are you saying that?" she whispered to herself, intrigued by the source of her fear. "Is this really true?" she pondered, challenging the validity of her inner voice. "What if I succeed instead?" This last question filled her with a flicker of hope, allowing her to envision a positive outcome for the presentation. Although she didn't magically transform into a fearless version of herself, confronting her inner critic with genuine curiosity, rather than allowing it to instill fear, helped to loosen its grip on her confidence. When the time came for her to present, she stepped up before her team with a newfound resolve. The presentation flowed smoothly, more smoothly than she could have anticipated. The team responded with enthusiasm, praising her originality and creativity. One team member even remarked, "You've got something special, don't doubt it." For the first time, Sophie didn't need to deflect or downplay the compliment. Instead, she allowed herself to fully accept the praise. A warm smile spread across her face, and she replied sincerely, "Thank you," feeling genuine gratitude and accomplishment as she embraced this positive feedback. Part 4: A New Dialogue. Sophie began to develop a practice called mental editing, which was a powerful tool for reshaping her internal dialogue. Every time she sensed the presence of her inner critic voice that often filled her mind with self-doubt and negativity, she consciously tried to intercept that thought and transform it into something more constructive. For instance, when the critic whispered, "This isn't perfect," she skillfully flipped the narrative to remind herself, "This is a solid draft. I can improve it." This simple shift allowed her to recognize that perfection was not the goal. Instead, progress and growth were what truly mattered. When faced with the ominous thought, "I'll fail," Sophie reframed it by saying to herself, "I might stumble, but I'll learn something." This acknowledgement turned her fear of failure into an opportunity for learning and personal development, encouraging a growth mindset rather than one of defeat. In moments when she felt that she wasn't enough, instead of succumbing to despair, Sophie affirmed, "I'm growing, and that's enough for today." This realization helped her accept her current state while motivating her for future improvement without undue pressure. As time passed, Sophie noticed a remarkable change in her relationship with her inner critic. What had once felt like an adversary now took on the guise of a concerned friend, one that simply needed boundaries. She recognized that while her inner critic would always exist, it didn't have to dominate her thoughts or dictate her self-worth. Although Sophie still experienced doubts and moments of anxiety, she had learned to respond to those feelings with compassion and understanding rather than shame. Instead of fighting against her criticism, she welcomed it as a natural part of her internal landscape. She understood that she didn't have to silence her inner critic completely. Instead, she could limit its influence by no longer giving it the microphone. This shift empowered her to embrace her journey, celebrating her strengths and vulnerabilities. Moral of the story: we all have an inner critic, but mastering it doesn't mean shutting it up. It means listening, questioning, and choosing to speak back with compassion. Growth begins when you stop believing every negative thought and start writing your own narrative.